Hi, folks. Going to walk through how to prototype our pop-up modal for our ride on site. So I just built this partial page in Figma. This does not, just as a disclaimer, this does not include the information, all of the information that's supposed to be here, as it was just to for example purposes. So I do just want to note that I am labeling my frames. So we have this home, and I do already have a pop-up created here. I'll just put that off to the side so we can create a new one. So as you folks should probably know, when we go to our frame tool, we end up with some various sizes that we can go ahead and select. This we can also manually go ahead and size up our pop-up frame. So if we go ahead and we call that pop-up, say you're unsure if that size is going to be appropriate for your web page size, you just want to make everything nice and scale, you can go ahead and use your rectangle tool and just maybe roughly size out what you think would be a decently sized pop-up for this page. And then you can use your measurements here. So 571 by say 382 is a decent one. And then I'll just go ahead and mimic those sizes that I used on that rectangle on here. So 571, 382. So now it's the same size as this. I can go ahead and delete that. So now if I want to add a color to that pop-up, I can go ahead and use a rectangle and add color. But since this is strictly just a pop-up, I want to add a fill onto the background. So currently it's set to white. If I, for instance, want this in black, I'm going to drag that down. So now I don't have to physically add another element or object on there. I can just go ahead and create a background color. So I'm just going to snag the elements that I have here. So just as a note, we do always want to make sure we have a way to close down those pop-ups so we don't infuriate our users. I know we won't physically be prototyping those X's for the prototyping stage of things, but in this case, if this goes off to development, we want to make sure that that's not missed. So whether that's getting prototyped or not, we want to include that. I'm just going to go ahead and center those elements up. And I'm feeling good with where that is at. So that's all done in our design tab. So we're going to go and click over to our prototype tab. So first and foremost, what we do want to make sure that we are including, I'll just take that off first. We want to make sure we are noting where we need that flow to start. So we don't want to hit our play button to check our prototype and our pop-up show first. We need our home page to show up first. We're going to go home, and over on our flow start point, we just give that a little plus sign. And now we know that this is our flow start point. So now if we need to start prototyping, we see these little tabs come up. They show up on all four sides. So depending what you would like, I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag over to that pop-up. So here's where we need to make a couple of modifications for that pop-up to activate. We don't want that pop-up to come up when we click on something. We want it to happen automatically. So after a delay, so that means after a short pause when you land on the site, this will pop up, and that's your timing. We also want to make sure it doesn't say navigate to, because we don't want to, after a delay, we get navigated to this. What we want to do is after a delay, we want this to open as an overlay. So we need to make sure that that changes now. Once we change that, we get a few more options. So it tells you where or what frame you want that to be set at. So we do want that as the pop-up. Instant dissolve, that's just the visual setting. And then we can say where we want it placed. We can say center, because it's great to have that center. We'll use generally the left one if we're prototyping a mobile app and we need that navigation to appear off to the side, for instance. But for a pop-up like message like this, we'll just want to keep that center. And then something else you want to make sure, we want to just say close when clicking outside. So that means that when that pop-up comes up, again, like I said, we're not going to use that X. We're just going to go ahead and click outside of that pop-up, and then that will close it. Add a background, we've got that already. Reset scroll, we can leave that as it is. And then let's take a quick test. So once we press play, there it is. Do have an issue. Oh, there we go. A little bit of a delay on that image showing up. But as you can see, everything is showing up well. If I click away, that pop-up is gone, and I've able to scroll through my site.